Turbo Conquering Mega Eagle. Okay, we've got the little shorty sorted out. Forks are going to stay on for a while because it's going to be easier to jig it for me anyway with the forks there. I mean, these guys that build bikes, they have jigs that will go into the headset and that makes it easier. Obviously, you know, you can get everything lined up, but for me it would mean building a more elaborate jig. I can just, with these forks on, like, I can just bolt this down to a plank of wood and the whole bike will be as straight as the plank of wood, you know. Okay, you see I had to hack the stem off because it's frozen inside the steering tube for the forks, isn't it? And you know, when I've encountered this sort of thing before, I've maybe twisted the forks a bit. So like this, when I do take it off, I can just pull the chopped off part of the stem through the headset and then deal with it on the bench and not risk screwing up the forks quite so badly. Okay, so that's the original dropout for this bike, and these are going to be the new dropouts. I've got two bits of steel welded together there just to make it easier to get a perfectly matched pair. And then we've got tabs coming out in 5 places on each dropout to take the tube. Yeah, and then I'll just pinch the ends of the tube around them a little bit before I weld them. Look at that beautiful dropout, eh? If anyone's ever seen a dropout that looks weirder than this, let me know in the comments below. Oh, unfortunately I've already done one so far. This is a lot of hacking and carving. There's a other one for me to get going on now. Okay, so rather than using this incredibly heavy 2mm wool pipe, I've had a rummage around and found an old tent frame that I saved through the covering out, and and I'm going to try and use this tent frame. If I can't really bend it, then I can't really use it, and we'll have to use the figure stuff. But you know, this is like half the weight of the thick wall tube, so it would really work out nicely, a lot nicer if if I can use the tent frame. Okay, go on.
Where?
The bike. Go put some effort into it, go on. Go on.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay. Awesome, well done. Okay, so we're at a point now where I can put some brakes on this thing, and I expect after that we're about ready to paint it. So if, hang on, I haven't got all my props ready, have I? That was silly, wasn't it? I've got some of them here, but not all of them here. Look, we've got V brakes on the original frame, yeah? So that's the back half of the original frame with the posts for the brakes, yeah? And then, if you can imagine, I'm going to try and stick these posts onto this frame, yep, and that's problematic in a couple of ways, because I've got to get them lined up with the pinholes in the correct place. You see those pinholes? That's where the release brake for the brake arm itself sits, and you can choose one of 3 holes depending on whatever tension you want on those. So I've got to get that lined up, but I've also got to get these really nice and square to the rim. Yep. So rather than risk any problems with that, what I'm going to do is take another side of the road bike. This is a horrible, cheap full suspension bike that, you know, and cut this horseshoe off the front fork, and then I've got the posts already mounted on a frame, and then all I've really got to worry about is getting it the correct distance from the axle, and even then it's not so much of a concern, because there's a bit of a adjustment in the brake arms themselves. So that's that. I've got okay, so you can see I got some paint on it. It went on quite nicely. I quite like the colour it's growing on me. Glad I didn't use it for my power saw. I like that in black, it's fine. It's all worked out nicely. I've popped a sealed bottom bracket in there, and a cheapo chain ring. This is like, you get the bottom bracket and the chain ring for under 20 quid. It's amazing. Really with a chain, like if you're putting a new chain on, then you kind of want new sprocket, don't you? And I've got a barely worn nest at the back here. I've got a back wheel on, old back wheel, new tyre, and I saved myself a bit of money and thought I'd reuse another crank, but this one's grey, unfortunately. I don't really care. Maybe I'll paint it. And we've got a couple of platforms, BMX pedals, like, just because I like them. Yeah, they're 8 quid well goes. Yeah, like, I remember putting well goes on my BMX when I was a nipper, and they cost me a lot more than 8 quid, that's for sure. These aren't very nice, but they'll do for this bike. Okay, so I've run out of bits. I'm really waiting on a fork before I can run all my cables and that. So for the time being, I'm just going to make the tray to go on the luggage rack at the back. I'm just going to do that out of sheet aluminium.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Say, yes.
Oh, nice. So do you want me?
The chances are I'm going to fucking drop it anyway. Top heavy. You'd know about that, wouldn't you?
Good luck.
I'll have drawn some gas. No?
No.
Give me the fucking camera. I can't let go of this. Okay then folks, so I've just got back from a long weekend cycle camping with my mates, yeah. We did about 3 days riding, not serious riding, just, you know, I think we must have covered about 100 miles and all. There's my bedroll on the back. And what? Yeah, I mean, it highlighted a few things about this design. Firstly, like, this is kind of a copy of a Surly, and they make cargo bikes. They make a fantastic range of cargo bikes. And I'd looked at their bikes, and it looked like they'd put a bit of unnecessary weight into the frame, but I now realise that the additional bracing that they put on their bikes is to prevent a bit of the flex. And I only realised that when I'm, you know, obviously I put gas bottles on it before I went camping, and it had a huge amount of flex, then 70 kilos, but when you ride for a little while, you start noticing the more slight flex, and I think it's something that's going to be very difficult to avoid with you know, a relatively normal bicycle frame shape, because it's two sets of load basically on that bicycle frame, which it isn't designed for. I wasn't carrying that much weight really. I only took this bike because I wanted to. I should have, if I was being sensible, I should have taken a different bike with a pannier on it, and put my bits on there, because I only had that bedroll and a small sort of you know, hold all bag, a very small one, 10-litre bag, whatever, with my bits and bobs in it. Did I enjoy riding this bike? No, because of the weight of it. Is it a good cargo bike? Yeah, that doesn't mean it's not a good cargo bike. I think if you're looking at moving things that are low density, high volume, then this is a pretty sensible design. Higher density, you do definitely need to spread it front and back. Not just did I notice the flex, but also I could feel where the weight was, and it wasn't at the front. The steering is definitely not as positive as you'd want it to be, knowing that you've got all that mass behind you. Yeah, I did crash it a couple of times actually, as it happens. I've got a few bumps and nicks on me. I'm actually worse off than the bicycle. All the bike suffered was a bit of lost paint. And that was one of my main concerns, was crashing this bike when it had a load on it and twisting the frame or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely sturdy enough to cope with the crash or two. So in that respect, total win, guys. Yeah. Why is this brake cable all over the place? Well, that's to do with the back wheel. I wish I'd either used a bolt up rear wheel rather than quick release, or put some sort of texture on the dropout where the wheel grips the you got a bit of my scabby hand there from the fall, where the wheel grips. I should have put some texture there so it didn't let go quite so easily. But what was happening was I was trying to power up a hill, and obviously putting a lot of torque through that rear axle, and the chain was pulling the wheel forwards, which is infinitely better than braking and have the wheel go backwards, as can happen if you've got old style dropouts. But and that resulted in the wheel being on the piss, and so I ended up just disconnecting the brakes, and every now and again when that happened, I'd have to get off, straighten the wheel up, and really crank down on that quick release handle, which you'll notice is a bit bent now, a bit more bent than the front one, which was the same sort of shape. Yeah. But that's life. That's minor inconvenience. So what would I have done differently, nothing, I don't think. Just apart from taking this bike on a camping trip. That's the only thing I would have done differently. I think it'd be more useful if it also had a front rack. But as far as this little experiment goes, I'm going to call this a complete and utter success. It rode like a bike. Didn't like all the weight on the back. And I had a good time. So I hope you enjoyed the build, guys, and I'll catch you all again next time, bye bye.